Hello everyone, my name is Anthony and today we're going to learn CICD for machine learning. So these are the things we're going to learn today. We're going to look about what is CICD, what is YAML, DVC, data versioning control. We're going to look into the YAML code and also look into serving models with Flask API. We're going to look into Docker Hub, we're going to look into the GitHub action, GitHub secrets and variables, CML, that is continuous machine learning, and also AWS EC2 and ECS. Okay, so what is CICD? Right, CICD is a short form for continuous integration, continuous delivery, or continuous deployment. So when it comes to continuous integration, here it's a practice where developers, put their code into a shared environment, into the shared repository. You write different codes and then you bring them together into a shared repository, and then there's some set triggers that we automatically run automated processes that can build the code and test the code, right? Okay, on continuous delivery here, it's built on top of continuous integration, right? Here the goal is to always make sure that the products or the code or whatever, it's ready to be deployed at any time, in any environment, right? And the deployment decision is a manual one. So you have to decide once everything has passed. You have set all your criteria, right? So you can decide, that this is going to go into the production environment, okay? And then on continuous deployment here, it's kind of automated. You just have to set the criteria, and once the product or the code passes all those tests, passes all those criteria you've set, it goes to the live, environment, goes live to the production server, and people can start using the product. Right? Okay, so CICD helps us to build incrementally instead of building everything and pushing to the server, at the same time. So it helps us to work incrementally. So as we get feedbacks from the clients or from the customers, we initiate or try to work on those feedbacks, and then we deploy or push to the production server incrementally as those come on, right? Okay, so why do we need CICD in machine learning? It helps us to handle automatic model training, versioning, and retraining. Of course, most times, you can have some data changes, you want to retrain the model, so you can have that pipeline set out. Once those kind of things happen, those triggers, occur, it can initiate all these, actions, in the pipeline. Then it also helps ML engineers across other teams like data scientists, to work together, to work collaboratively, make sure that all their code are into one repository, so it helps them to work together, right? And also it helps us to be consistent and be able to reproduce the pipelines which we have created during the development, building the product or building the model, right? It helps us to be consistent and reproduce those pipelines we've set out. Okay? And then it also helps for seamless deployment, right? We can set up this pipeline and things can be handled automatically. So these are the few reasons that I've pointed out that we need to have CICD in machine learning. Okay? So now, when you look at CICD, we can talk about in software engineering and machine learning. They're actually very different, right? We can look into these three aspects. Looking at the data dependency. When it comes to software engineering, what it means. So here, it actually focuses on the code and the static tests, that they run. And then when it comes to machine learning, depending on data, right? Depending on data, and it's requiring version and tracking the data to see there are changes in the data, right? When it comes to experiment, versioning, right? So here you see software engineers, they release, versions of their software, code changes, all those kind of things. Right? But meanwhile, when it comes to machine learning, it's talking about versioning the data set, also versioning the model, right? Yeah. And automation complexity here, software engineering, it's kind of straightforward code testing and deployment, right? Write the logics and test, make sure that the logic you have in mind, it's what the code is doing for you, and then you deploy, right? So meanwhile here it's dynamic. You need to take care of returning the model, processing the data sets, and turning the model, to get to what you want, right? So it's more complicated here and dynamic here, right? Okay, so you can't talk about CICD without talking about YAML, right? What is YAML? It stands for YAML Ent Markup Language. So here, the purpose of YAML, and YAML, it's actually, human readable, and it's used for configuration, file, data exchange, and serialization. Meanwhile, actually, YAML is a data serialization language, right? So here you can, YAML is used in CICD, commonly used for defining workflows, for tools like GitHub Actions, for Docker Compose, and many more things you can use YAML to do. So these are the few key things you can know about YAML. It's simple, minimal syntax, it's even readable, easy to read. If you are not a developer and they give you a YAML file, you'll be able to deduce what is happening, right? It supports data hierarchies, it has nested structures, you can build some complex, pipeline or stuff using YAML. So we're going to look into YAML syntax. In YAML, it uses spaces for indentation, tabs are not allowed, things you need to know about YAML. And it works, it has key value pairs, written as key and value, right? So you have the name, for example, you have the name here as the key and John as a value, right? You can, if you want to write comment in YAML, you write with the hash code for comment, right? And it's kind of, so this is an example of the name. This example, we have the name, the John, right? And booleans are represented as true or false, right? Also has null, null is represented as null or this symbol, right? And you can also have integers, numbers, float numbers or integers, right? Floating numbers or integers. So you can see the examples I have here. The name is a key, John is a string. So you can also have quoted or quoted strings, right? Have John, the age here is 30. You can have marriage, is true. If you're married, you're true, something like that, right? So YAML, we have scalars. Scalars are basic values, that YAML has, like some few data types like strings, numbers, boolean, etc. You have strings can be quoted, like I said before, it can be quoted or unquoted. You have numbers, it can be integers or floats. You have the booleans, like I said before. You have, null, which I've mentioned earlier in the previous slide. So we have YAML collections. Collections, it helps to group multiple values together, right? We have sequence. Sequences can be, you can say list, other list of values shown, denoted by the dash, symbol, right? Example here, we have fruits, and in fruits we have apple. In a list of fruits we have apple, banana, orange. So it's very simple to read, right? We also, YAML has mapping. Like you said before, key value pairs, which can be nested, right? You have the key, something like this, as an example, right? Okay, and it can also be nested, just like you have seen on the example that I'm projecting here. Okay, so we have nested collections, combine sequences and mappings to create more complex structure, just like an example that I've put here, right? Okay, so all this while we'll be talking about single string YAML. So we're going to talk about multi-line strings. So we have main two types: the literal and the folded, right? And the folded, the literal style. So here we have, in the literal style we have that new lines within the strings are preserved, right, as actual lines in the output. So when you write when you write a multi-line strings, and when you run it in the output, if you have new lines, it also maintains those new lines in output. That's what that means. And for you to start writing the literal style, it's indicated by the pipe symbol, right? So this is an example of a multi-line strings using the literal style, right? And then this is likely the output, of that. Okay, here in the multi-line strings, using the full style here, new lines are actually replaced by spaces, right? And this is an example of that. And if you run this is likely what you're going to get. It's going to, convert these new lines as space, right? Okay. So today this will be the end for this episode. The next episode we're going to talk about DVC. We're going to talk about DVC. You'll learn how to use DVC in your pipeline. Thank you.